Back to another episode, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by to the final episode before Christmas. It is a week today, so if you celebrate it, Merry Christmas for a week today. And if you don't, Happy Thursday for a week today. That's all the same here. So if it is that you enjoy talking about the skill set of Sherlock Holmes and learning how to do it for yourself, then click on the subscription button to stay up to date with all of the videos and podcasts as and when they drop. Quick bit of context as well before we start. You'll hear me reference Axiom from time to time. That's the community where I run this kind of thinking. Actually, it's this kind of thinking in a trained and pressure tested dynamic, not just talked about. Observation is interesting, but application is what matters. And if you're curious, the link will be in the description box below when this goes out tomorrow. But today's episode will stand on its own. I am calling it the blind box protocol. Sounded a bit Sherlocky in that description as well. I reckon so. But really, it's how to deduce a wrapped object, like a forensic analyst, like a forensic analyst, even. Because that's, with it being Christmas time, it's played in Sherlock, it's played in Psych. I'm particularly fond of the dynamic between Sean and Henry Spencer in those particular situations. But it's just as fun to, really try and practice these observational and deductive skills that you have with reference to figuring out what something is when you can't see what it is. Christmas, birthdays offer ample opportunity to practice that, but it's not specific to Christmas and birthdays. It's anything that resides in anything else, sight unseen. In Psych, Sean and Henry's Christmas game is never about luck or the or guessing. I hate that word. Yeah. It's competitive deduction. The wrapping paper is effectively a con, and the goal is to beat the game using observation, your memory skills, physics, and behavioral insight. As I say, the idea isn't unique to Psych. In a scandal in Belgravia, Holmes deduces gifts, cufflinks, by weight and sound, and the social context of the giver. Excuse me, that's over two separate situations. That's in the Fall episode. Scandal in Belgravia is the Christmas presents where he unfortunately obliterates Molly. It's been a while since I've seen it. Same problem, but different aesthetic. What both shows demonstrate is that deduction is not magic. It occurs to me that they play it in the Mentalist as well. Essentially, what it is structured inference under constraint. Now we're going to look at almost reframing the game with more regard to the tools that you can use to be able to get to the answers that you need. Again, not intuitive. It's evidence-based and stated before confirmation. That's the rules that we have in the community when we started playing Secret Santa. It was that whoever it is that wants to play can play, and you buy whatever you want so long as it's within the budget that you set out. Wrap it however you want, send it from wherever you want, add in as many tricks, twists and turns as you possibly can, but it's down to the skill set to figure out what is inside. The episode that we have for that will hopefully be put together soon. I'm going to do it into kind of a clip show though, because there's a few people who are playing who, because of the jobs that they have, they can't take public viewings of their activities. But the rule that turns a game into a reasoning exercise, the simple rule that matters, is that you have to state your claim and your evidence before opening the box. So, like if you've picked something out, it would be. Have I got anything to hand that I can use? Yes. If it is that you got here, and you'd had your few moments to shake it and feel the weight of it, you would then have to say, "I am claiming this is a box of confetti based on its density, rigidity, the sound of internal movement, and all of the conversational elements I remember about interacting with whomever it is. State your case almost." That one aspect does something really quite important psychologically, in that it forces your reasoning to be explicit. The accountability of the process absolutely lies with you. There will be error analysis later. We refer to it in our camps as to validate, dismiss, or clarify. But in cognitive science terms, it prevents post hoc rationalization, where people unconsciously rewrite their reasoning after they know the answer. Essentially, it's a different version of a hindsight bias, in that if something is on the tip of your tongue and then an answer's given, you go, "Oh, I was going to say that." Well, if you were going to say that, then say it. So you're no longer playing a game. You're running a test. Phase one can be considered the visual forensics, reading the exterior. So before you touch the box, you already have information. Most people waste it. Right? It's a principle that draws directly from Locard's exchange principle. It's a foundational concept in forensic science, in that every contact leaves a trace. Wrapping, that's contact. Edmond Locard was also known as the French Sherlock Holmes, but more on that at 2026 time. So what you can do, and this, don't be wrong, these things that we're going to go over is a way of doing it, not the only way. It is a way of doing it. It's not a piece of trickery or deception. It is simply paying attention to everything that there is to be communicated to you via the present or the gift or the box that you have in front of you. So the first thing you can look at is the tape, if there is any. Standard clear tape usually means home wrapped. Branded stickers or seamless seals often indicate department stores or higher end retailers. That narrows origin and price range immediately. You can then look at the creases in the paper. Professional wrappers, yes, they exist, and that's WRAPPERS, not the rhythm and poetry guys. Professional wrappers produce sharp 90-degree creases. Amateur wrappers create soft corners where paper bunches. That tells you about the effort, the time, the pressure that's gone into forging said creases, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes relationship closeness, as in how close the individual is to you. Care, effort, attention very often signals relational intent or relational commitment. You can then look at the paper grade. High GSM paper is thicker and more expensive. Thin paper that tears at corners suggests budget, urgency, or mass retail. On the flip side of both of those, when you're dealing with a person, maybe in the Spencer household, this type of paper analysis can be used as a misdirect. if you know that you have $10 to $15, or we have £10 to £15 as a budget for the present that you're buying, you could spend a lot of that on the paper and put nothing in the box, right? These are the kinds of reasoning measures that one must be aware of. It's not just an aesthetic judgment. It is literally material inference. Hello, Mr. Architect. Mr. Architect D6N. Phase 1 should then continue into geometric profiling and the norms of manufacturing. Most manufactured objects obey standard dimensions. That's spatial reasoning. It's not guesswork. Right? Observe the proportions of whatever it is that you have. A hardback book has a remarkably consistent aspect ratio. If a box matches it closely, probability spikes dramatically, not certainty at all. Probability. Especially for those who have ordered anything from Amazon. If you're sending gifts via Amazon, invariably, what happens a lot of the time, is the additional paper aspect goes out of the window because you're sending overseas. They do have certain packing and wrapping options, but that's at an additional cost, which the Secret Santa game doesn't have, right? So with the dimensions of the box, if it is that you've bought something from Amazon, I can't count the number of times that I've been given a box that is ridiculously too big for what it is that's being sent. It happens all of the time. I know it happens a lot of the time with the people that I speak to and play this game with. So there is an inference there that that is an Amazon thing that's particular to England. I don't know if it goes on further afield. You guys can let me know. But these are some of the considerations that you have to think about. Electronics, they come in dense, rigid, factory boxes with no flex. No malleability. Pressing the center tells you whether the box is structural or merely protective. As in, if it gives or if it doesn't. If it doesn't give in the middle, then is a structural pressure fighting back against you. So whatever it is takes up the full length of the inside. If it gives a little bit, and that's just a basic protection for transport of the item of whatever's inside. It mirrors an aspect of how engineers reason. Objects are constrained by manufacturing realities. Deduction respects very well those constraints. Do I know Raymond Reddington from Blacklist? I know of him. I've never watched the show. That's the James Spader show, right? That's the James. I believe. Second tapping out now. Oh, here we go. Rosendo Van Dam, great name. I had a chance to say that my sister was pregnant when she said, guess what? In my intuition, I was going to say that you're pregnant, but since I is a lazy Sherlockian, I second-guessed myself. Oh, well, that's an unfortunate circumstance for that happening, sir. But those lessons are fabulous in that you can learn from it, right? This is kind of the downside of relying too heavily on your intuitive capacity. Balance in all things is the key. And this game, this exercise, is a way, again, not the way or the only way, it is a way for you to be able to practice. Phase 2, we could call it haptic feedback. It's essentially picking it up. The weight, the balance, the density. This is the time when you're actually properly fondling the box. Arguably, that's where Henry Spencer shines. Most people will stop at heavy or light That's surface based. What matters is density and distribution. As in the center of gravity, does tilting the box reveal whether the mass is symmetrical, or if it slides, or if it's anchored, or if it's in multiple pieces? Does it make a sound like confetti, or popcorn, or jigsaw pieces if you shake it around? A balanced mass suggests a single, dense, or factory packed object. This can range from books to electronics. It depends on the dimensions as well. Sliding mass suggests that the items are loose. Or clothing. An anchor point suggests asymmetry. So these might be mugs or tools or something with a handle. It relies primarily on proprioception. That's the body's ability to sense position and movement. It's a real sensory system. It's not intuition. The same system that you use to walk around your house without constantly looking at the floor is the same proprioceptive system that is engaged here. It is your awareness of the environment, and again, we can push this out to awareness en masse. So when you pick up items to play with and fiddle with, are there certain aspects that take primary focus here, like this is a Rubik's cube for the blind, so it's do you focus on the shapes that are on the top, or the way that the Rubik's cube feels in terms of the separate squares that hold each of the 9 elements together? Or when you pick it up, do you get a sense for its weight every time? Do you get a sense for its sound every time in terms of the plastics? This is how you can really start to expand your awareness of things. I've played this game for so long that from the weight alone of most things, without really examining the box, let me tell you a story. Actually, the other day, my wife was she was at work, and she asked me to answer the door for the parcels that were due to. I work from home, for the parcels that were due to arrive for her, but she forewarned that some of them could be for me. So I blindfolded myself, and I mean, it led to a funny interaction with the postman, but I blindfolded myself, and in holding the parcels enough to put them on the steps that were just behind me, so it was picking them up and putting them down behind me, I could tell what it was. The weight and the dimensions were clear in those particular situations. One of which was for me, but she knows who she married, right? I'm annoying, to say the least. The next step would be more about the density equation, like physics almost, but without the equations. Right? You don't really need to say the formula out loud. Your brain is doing it anyway. Density is mass divided by volume. Right? That's the equation. So small and heavy would likely indicate metal, or ceramic, or glass, or dense technology. Large and light would indicate textiles or hollow plastic. This is why nested boxes are so irritating. They deliberately violate intuitive density expectations. Even then, the deception itself becomes a clue. One year, I sent someone a box that was the price that we'd set. It was a good few years ago, but it was just a box. So they'd gone through the measure expecting something to be inside, and there was nothing inside. It was just the box. That's the trade-off. You've really got to be able to follow these games. It's about physical plausibility, not relying solely on your imagination. we can consider phase 3, trying to think of a posh way of saying it, audio discrimination, shaking it. Right? Sherlock does that explicitly. So do the Spencers. As it goes, they're allowed a couple of moments to shake and feel the weight, and then bosh, it goes into the stocking. The sound matters. It relies on something that's called acoustic impedance or impedance. Impedance? Impedance. Impedance. Which is essentially how materials transmit or absorb sound. A muffled thud might suggest soft materials. A sharp clack suggests rigid materials with free movement. A granular swish might suggest many small components. Silence might suggest softness or packaging that is extremely tight. You're not listening for the exact identity. You're listening for mechanical behavior. How do I see Raymond Reddington? I don't see him. I've never watched the show, and I'm not entirely sure what you mean by the question. Not entirely sure. A fun book I half read was Sherlock Holmes and the Island of Dr. Moreau. Still need to finish it if I ever do, hopefully. Get it done then, my friend. Get it done. I haven't read that one, so if it turns out that is a charming read, then do come back and let us know. Phase 4 of the blind box process could be considered active elicitation, forcing behavioral leaks, shifting from the object to the person. Right? That's where Psych really lives. Instead of watching eyes or someone's posture, all of that stuff, you use provocative stimuli to trigger involuntary responses. Like a fragility stress test, almost. You could briefly fumble to trigger the visceral flinch response in the individual. If the object is fragile, the amygdala reacts before conscious control kicks in. A gasp, a reach, or a wince might suggest breakable. A calm response might suggest durability. That is a subcortical response. You can't fake it reliably, anyway. You could then use the false premise, which is essentially using correction as intelligence. It draws from cognitive dissonance and correction bias. It's summarized by Cunningham's law, in that people have a strong urge to correct information by confidently stating a likely false claim. I can tell it's the cast iron pan I wanted, or I can tell it's the Deadpool Christmas jumper I wanted. You force the giver to narrow the field when they react. It's not that heavy, removes the iron. It's not for the kitchen, removes the category. Keep guessing, suggests proximity. It's not an interrogation of sorts. It's more elicitation, and these are elicitation points that have been around for decades. Decades. Phase 5, we might look into Bayesian profiling, a profiling method based in Bayes' theorem. Essentially, for us here, it's the giver completing the picture. That's pretty much exactly how Sherlock solves the cufflinks. It's the analysis of the person, not the box. Gift givers exhibit a self-gift bias. They buy through their own identity lens. in that if I buy a gift for my wife, it's what I think she will like. Does that make sense? It doesn't nullify the beauty of the gift or the sincerity of the gift. That's why gifts are lovely and thoughtful. But this offers insight for those who are more inclined towards the profiling way of thinking. Utility people buy useful things. Sentimental people buy symbolic things. Novelty people buy clever things. Thoughtful people buy things that mean a lot to the individual. And then essentially you're updating probabilities as the evidence accumulates. The budget sets the price, sets the frame. There are certain things that you can and cannot buy if the budget is clear. Weight and size, all of that information comes in, then we update it. The sound, that information comes in, then we update it. The behavioral leaks come in, then we refine our methods. That is Bayesian inference, just without the maths. For those of you that don't know, Bayes' theorem is a critical thinking aspect for calculation of probability, the likelihood of something happening. That's really all we're doing here. In essence, as new evidence arrives, bad explanations die. What looks essentially like a silly Christmas game is actually a compressed reasoning lab. Visual evidence, physical evidence, acoustic evidence, behavioral evidence, contextual evidence. No tricks, no magic, no psychic nonsense or body language bullshit. Just disciplined inference. Which is why, in my humble and easily swayed by food opinion, both Psych and Sherlock work so well, and The Mentalist works so well. The brilliance isn't supernatural, metaphysical. It's structured thinking under uncertainty. And don't get me wrong, I'm very well aware that these are fictional things, but these types of games offer an ability to practice the reality of what it is that's being communicated. The box is never the point. The point is whether you can hold uncertainty long enough to let the evidence speak. All right, so let me know how you get on. Maybe you can turn your Christmas fun into an extra chance to practice these skills. So if I don't see you all before, I hope you have a very wonderful Christmas again if you celebrate it. And if you don't, I hope you have a very wonderful time doing whatever it is that you're up to all the same. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and let me know how many Christmas presents you manage to figure out as time rolls on. See you later, folks. Have a good one.